There were some concerns, mainly by me, that Barcelona were going to be victims of that dreaded FIFA virus, where all that momentum they had built up prior to the international break was all going to fall flat after the 2 weeks when they were away from their team. But this team showed no ill effects whatsoever. They were the better team at home, and while I do usually push against the idea that a team can deserve a result, 1-0 against Sevilla at the Camp Nou felt 100% justified and fair to the match that I just watched. So without further ado, let's hit those 5 headlines from Barcelona's 1-0 victory over Sevilla. One is worth the wait. I was watching on ESPN, and usually I'm a little hard on the commentators. You know, I do play-by-play myself, but I gotta give credit to Derek Ray. He's one of the best in the business, certainly here in the United States, and he nailed it on that goal call. Worth the wait was certainly what that goal felt like, and actually what the match in general felt like. I start with the goal because, for better or worse, it's the difference between 3 points and 1 point, or even 0 points if Sevilla were able to get their goal and then hang on to a lead if Pedri doesn't put that home. And as much as there is a lot to talk about other than the goal, because this match was decided by one movement, one magic moment by Pedri, and emphasis I think here on the magic, one magic moment was the difference between winning and not getting the desired result today. For Pedri, that's only his second La Liga goal of the season, 4th across all competitions. But I remember all of them because they were all bangers, and that one was probably the best. He faked the ball out wide and then calmly took on Rakitic, then Diego Carlos, who both bounded at the ball, missing completely, sliding on the ground, and those two sliding on the ground in front of him created the shooting lane. He could have lost the ball and Sevilla could have gone the other way, but he didn't, and he made his own space. And I do want to be very careful here about comparing Pedri to Messi, because Messi had an ability to decide a game. With the ball at his feet, he could score the goal that was the difference between 3 points and 1 point. And while Pedri did that today, I think we're still in that phase with him, and he isn't a goal scorer, he's a midfielder. And over the last 2 months, the consistency in which his performances have been extraordinary is what is Messi-esque. Not that he's deciding matches, but the fact that he's been good. Week in and week out, he has been Barcelona's best player since they have really found their form. I want to thank OneFootball for sponsoring this video. OneFootball is the app I use to keep myself up to date on all things FC Barcelona, everything I need to know, as well as check on every other team that Alemany could be scouting right now for a big summer transfer window. With a custom-tailored homepage, stay up to date with breaking news, live scores, and even transfer news. While on the go, you can check with matches in live time and watch videos afterwards. Use the link in the description for a free download of OneFootball on Android or iOS to put all of your football in one place. And you'll help out a tiny Barca channel too. Thanks to OneFootball again for sponsoring this video. Now back to the Barca business. Headline 2, I want to ask, was it a final? Xavi said before this that it was a final. And I think Xavi's kind of right, kind of wrong about this. Because of Zinedine Zidane, it has become a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek in Spain that every match is supposed to be a final. But in terms of the Liga, this was the final in the Liga for Barcelona, especially after Real Madrid's, we'll say, fair result, justified result. A little bit of sarcasm there against Celta de Vigo with all those penalties. So with Barcelona and Sevilla, it felt like a battle for second place, but a comfortable second place, as opposed to being in that fight for 3rd, 4th, 5th, or even 6th for the rest of this season. So as long as Barca do keep up some of their success over the last 2 months, this was the most significant La Liga match for the rest of the year. Sevilla were missing a bunch of players from the starting lineup, including En-Nesyri, Delaney, as well as losing Fernando for the season, but Sevilla still showed they were a pretty deep squad. For Xavi, he again went with what I think was his best available 11, and he went for the win. A team with possession like Sevilla that are willing to attack Barca down the wings meant that Araujo got the nod over Eric Garcia to help Dani Alves with the Campos, which was the right choice by Xavi. And immediately looking ahead to the Europa League against Eintracht Frankfurt, Barcelona, unlike the first half of the season where even against Benfica, you didn't get the sense that Barcelona were the favorites going into these matches. And I think after that El Clasico result, this match even today against Sevilla reminds you that Barcelona for the first time in a long time are going into each and every match as the favorites, and their results, whether it's 4-0 or a narrow 1-0 win, have been justified because they have consistently been better than their opposition game in and game out for now 2 months. And if you want more on that about how Xavi fixed Barcelona, well, that was the last YouTube video I did on just Friday, and after a game like this, everything I said in that video continues to be true, so make sure you check that out. 3 is FRENKIE high to attack, Busquets high to defend. At least for the first half, this was a tactic that Xavi employed, and I think it helped, even though things changed for the second, to keep Barcelona in a place of superiority, where Sevilla knew what was going to happen, and they still couldn't break through and couldn't figure it out. Because we again saw Xavi employ that medium block with Busquets high against a team that could have a bit of the ball, and are looking to build from their own half. By dropping Pedri and Jong to defend, Barca has a bit more legs to contend with quick movements through the center of the field in the first half when everybody's fresh. And Busquets, when everybody's fresh, is still going to be a step or two slower. So once Sevilla would set up in Barca's half, Busquets would look to step in front of his old midfield mate in Rakitic, with Rakitic looking to do the same when Barca had the ball. And this all came from Busquets after the early clash of heads between Piqué and himself. And that tactic, though, as I said, did change a bit in the second half, with Sevilla more willing to push two through the middle of the counterattacks and support Rakitic, where Rakitic would actually start deeper, and that midfield three would work together, with that third man runner for Sevilla becoming the danger man against Busquets. And at that point, Busquets then stayed pretty low. Plus, at that point, De Jong was continuing to push forward on the attack, and it was leaving a bit of space in behind. But as I said, that early pressure and that early look from Barcelona with their rest defense when they didn't have the ball, they were prepared to press. It wasn't an all-out press where Aubameyang and Ferran Torres and Dembele weren't going absolutely crazy, and particularly Aubameyang. He wasn't going after Bono. He was allowing Bono to be the one to make those decisions and dare Sevilla to beat Barca on the wings. And they didn't, and that's a credit to Dani Alves, Dembele, Alba, and Ferran Torres. Sevilla were not beating them down the wings. They had to go through the middle of the field, and they had a hard time doing that. 4, and speaking of Dembele, let's talk about those quick crosses, because this was the strategy for Barcelona to break through Sevilla today. It was Dembele not really thinking too much about what he was doing, just delivered the best ball he possibly could. And people were saying that Aubameyang had a quiet day. Well, that was because those crosses from Dembele weren't the most accurate, but they were happening in quick succession. And that is what was creating those multiple chances, even if they weren't as great as they could have been. But what you saw today was Dembele, you're talking a matter of inches again. And that's the difference between winning a match against a team like Sevilla and not getting a result against a team like Sevilla. And those inches that Dembele had were what created, as I said earlier about Pedri, what created that opportunity. Like so many times before, Barcelona is going to force things down their right side. And Sevilla knew that. Sevilla knew they had to put 1 or 2 men always on Dembele. And so that's why Dembele was immediately, the second he would get to his foot, he would try to get as far as he could to the goal line. But there came that moment when it was time to put the ball in. And I think he did that with pretty good effect every single time, even if the cross itself wasn't as good. The decision to make the cross when he did is actually what I find to be the most optimistic. Today in his 65 touches, he had 29 of 35 accurate passes for 83%. 7 key passes, by the way. His crosses were 4 of 15 completed, so there you see the issue and why it felt like it was a lot of the same. Long balls were 1 of 2, and he did create 2 big chances. Dembele also lost the ball 22 times, and I've already seen people complaining about this, but like I've said before, the location of losing possession matters a lot more than how many times you lose possession. And Dembele only once lost the ball in a dangerous position. The rest of the time, it was so far up and wide in Sevilla's half that Barca could set up their press before the ball got across midfield. And the 76,000 in attendance, while I know it wasn't everybody, they rightly applauded Dembele when he came off the field. If Barca doesn't get the result today, I don't think he gets applauded in the way that he did. But Dembele continues, of what we've seen for the last 2 months, to be capable, fully capable of handling the responsibility with him being the focal point of the attack. And 5 is Sevilla wouldn't risk it. Barcelona did not allow a shot to Sevilla until after the 30-minute mark. And that's something that I think that this team should hang their hat on. Yeah, Barcelona were able to fix their results by scoring a lot of goals. You know, the 6 different occasions in the last 2 months. But that defense is starting to get clean sheets that they didn't get when Barcelona was struggling. And I know it felt at times like this match was a bit of a slog, but I don't think it was. I think this was a really well-played tactical matchup in the Liga between 2 really good teams. And a credit to Barcelona, that Sevilla preferred the way that they were going into that low block and that medium block, that they didn't want to lose this match, and they still wound up losing the match. They weren't risking it to win it. They were trying not to lose and hoping they would get that lucky goal, just like some of the teams in the bottom third of the Liga do against Barcelona. And yet Barca were still able to use their dominance, use their superior talent, and take it to Sevilla, a team that, again, is a really good team. Barcelona always had the class to win these matches. Well, sometimes they didn't, but on paper they did. But now they have the system to do so. Koeman's teams created a ton of chances, but it always felt like there was no plan B. Tonight, Dembele was the plan A, as the right side usually is. And the dedication to that right side meant that the moment plan B came into effect, as in Pedri shooting instead of finishing the switch, it gave room for the 19-year-old to create some magic. And going all the way back to headline 1, the thing I'm most optimistic about is after 2 weeks off, all momentum could have been lost, but this team still had the same fight, the same desire, the same buy-in to the system and the manager, and they fought for Xavi again, and they earned, in front of 76,000 people, 3 points against Sevilla. And along with the Pedri goal, that was the greatest part of it to see tonight. Also great to see is the podcast, which, believe it or not, was already recorded and will be out in just a few short hours. So subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. And as always, until next time, Forza Barca.